Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NBA and the NFL. Got a brand new video for you guys today. We're going to discuss today's 6-game slate in the association. But before I get started, like always, guys, I appreciate you drop a like. And if you're new to the channel, first time here, have not yet joined the DFS Zone community, please do so down below. The only thing you have to do is just subscribe to the channel. Make sure you put on your post notifications. And this way you don't miss out on any of my NFL or NBA lineup advice videos. All right. With that being said, today is November the 1st, 2018. And we have a 6-game slate in the association. I'm going to give you my stud 5 and my value 5. And I also have, which I incorporated yesterday, my budget plays. I'm going to have one that I like pretty much per position as well. So you're going to get actually 3 players. By the time you look at this, you're going to have a little pool of players that you could choose from. Granted, I want you to be able to choose players of your own, but at the same time, I'm here to just guide, especially the newer players, on how to build a couple of lineups with using some studs as well as some value plays and as well as some budget plays, because we have that one play, that one spot or that 2 lines, at least 1 or 2 lines. You got to think about having at least a 4K or under player, and if one of those just bum out, hey, at least you know that score is going to be thrown away. All right, let's get right to it. Point guard: Westbrook, Simmons, Lillard, Kemba Walker. All of them to me are in play. I am not high on any of those guys today. I do, out of all of them, I probably will favor a little bit Westbrook, but he is 12K, so you need about 55. You need about 60. Excuse me. You need 60 on the nose to meet value. So it's a really, really big score for him to do. But Russell Westbrook, one of the best players in the league, he is capable of doing that any given night. But I'm not high on him today. Simmons, the same thing. Tough matchup going up against Beverly and Bradley. Those guys are very, very good defenders. Out of the Philadelphia game, the only ones I really, really like is probably Saric, because he's too cheap. And Mr. Joel Embiid is definitely in play for me. We'll get to him a little bit later when we discuss centers. Damian Lillard, same spot here, man. He's at home. He's been fantastic all year long, but he has a history. Last year he had a rough go with New Orleans, especially being defended by Drew Holiday. I expect that to continue today. So I am not willing to take a risk and have him play and put him in my lineup at 9,600. So I'm going to bypass Lillard today. But again, anything is possible, folks. Anything. Nothing's guaranteed, not any of the plays that I give you. Most of my plays have been panning out. So if anybody's been following, you've been jotting them down. There have been some good plays. Yesterday we had some nice plays as well. And some of the value plays have come through as well also as of late. So I definitely try to do the best I can to find as much possible research to hand over to you guys. De'Aaron Fox, just too expensive right now still for Fox. Sacramento is playing really well as a team. They got a nice young team, just like my Knickerbockers are starting to play really, really good with a young group of kids. Same thing with Sacramento here. Fox, a nice player, but 8,200, I just can't buy into him putting up 41, 42. Pretty much to meet that value. That's pretty high. Jamal Murray, I was on him last night. He had a decent game, not an explosive game. He's in a good matchup here again. The only concern here is the possible blowout situation here with Cleveland. So I'm not on Murray today. Bledsoe, I am going to come all the way down to Kyrie Irving, because Kyrie Irving, to me, is still a little too cheap. I mean, 7,600 here. You need pretty much 37 to meet value, and he's 7,700 on DK. Pretty much similar price, similar amount of money, similar amount of fantasy points you need. You need about 37 to meet his last 2 games. He has had 2 44-point games. There's 44 and 45 over the course of the last 4 games. He had a 41 spot here in the last 3 games versus Milwaukee, pretty much. Let's go over to the cruncher, and let's go over to Mr. Kyrie Irving. And I'm going to look at what he did last year against Milwaukee, and as you can see, pretty much averaged like about 40 points. Last 2 games, 41 and 45. Huge amount of shots. This was last season. Let's go back to this season. He had a 45 spot in the last game, had a 28% usage rate. I always look at usage rate and, of course, the minutes. And then after that, I want to see if he's taking enough shots. Usually with the usage rate being high, chances are he is taking a lot of shots. So he's had 16 shots from the floor, 7 from 3. Did get to the foul line, was a little aggressive. When you see that, you know he's been aggressive. That means he's driving to the basket, and he's getting those contacts. 5 rebounds and 5 assists, and he has the 1 steal. He has the occasional game where he can get a steal or 2. He's capable of doing that. If he defends consistently, he might be able to get those a little more regularly. But the numbers are there. Again, the most important thing is this is a guy, as you can see, 8, This is a guy last year that was 85, 87, 8,800 towards the end of the year and through the playoffs. I mean, he is just too cheap at 7,600 and 7,700 respectively on DK until his price goes up and he's more to the price range of what he puts as far as fantasy points go. I am going to be willing to play Kyrie Irving. I haven't played him yet this year, but today I definitely like the matchup against Milwaukee. It's going to be a competitive game. Milwaukee is one of the best defensive teams in the league, fourth best, as well as Boston is number one. Okay, they're coming in. Milwaukee's fourth best in allowing teams only 104 points per game, and they have one of the wildest differentials that I've seen in a while. They have scoring 120 points a game and only giving up 104. That's a plus 16. That is amazing. Golden State comes next at a plus 13, but Golden State gives up about 110 points a game or 114 points a game and score 128. But this is very impressive to hold the team down to 104. Defensively with Brogdon, Middleton, and Giannis, they're very tough with that defense, and Bledsoe is not that bad as well. So they are a very good defense-oriented team. This is going to be a great game. Both teams play defense. Boston gets a lot of help from everybody. It's a complete team contribution when it comes to Boston. That's why you don't see excessively large, big numbers. But Kyrie Irving is in a great spot here for me. Milwaukee has given up 31.6 fantasy points per game to point guards. They gave up 46 to Kyle Lowry, 46 to Simmons, 31 to Trey Burke of the New York Knicks, and 52 to Kemba Walker. So there is room here, a little wiggle room for Kyrie Irving, who is capable of getting, he has 50-point upside, who is capable of getting 40 or better. So I like Kyrie Irving here today as my stud point guard. When we go to value, I'm going to come down to the Cleveland, the young kid. They're already realizing in Cleveland that they're in the rebuilding mode. There's no doubt about it. And they want to get these young kids playing. And this Collin Sexton has done pretty well. 12 points, 2.7 rebounds, 2.3 assists, 18.4 fantasy points, $5,000. You need 25. And on DK, he's 4,600. You need about 23 there. He's averaging 18.4 fantasy points per game. At 20, he's down 7. That's 7 fantasy points more expensive, his price range. But he has the upside, and now the other thing that's more important is that he's going to get minutes now because he is going to be they're looking to see if he is the future for this team in the backcourt. 31 fantasy points in his last game out, more than 1 fantasy point per minute. He put up 27 minutes. He put up 17 points, 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 block. As you can see here, he's capable of being a good defender. He's got 1 steal in this game against Indiana, 2 against Detroit, and he's had 3 games in a row where he's pretty much averaging about 24 fantasy points per game. So he's above his average there on the last 3 games. And I like to see stuff like that. When you see stuff like that, then you know that you're in the right track. 4 games straight at 13 or over, which is a nice number as well. Okay, he's going up against Denver. Denver's given up the 5th fewest points to opposition this year. So Denver has been pretty tough. Let's just take a quick look here at Sexton again. Yeah, he took 10 shots in his last game, 1 or 2. His usage rate this is pretty good for a kid who is just starting to get some time here on the floor. He's making the most out of the time he has the ball in his hands. 24% here, 26 and 22 and 22 respectively. And he is getting shots and he is getting to the free throw line. As you can see, nearly 5 to almost 9 times a game he's getting to the foul line. And he's scoring over 10 points a game, which is pretty nice to see as well. So I like that. Going up against the Denver, like I said, 5th fewest points being allowed this far this year to the opposition, 105.4 points per game. Denver is on the front end of a back-to-back. They did play last night. What I'm looking at in this game is that Jamal Murray played last night. He played 44 minutes last night. So one of the reasons why is I kind of like Collin. He's getting some time. He's probably getting a few more minutes more than George Hill. But I can see where maybe Murray, if this game gets a little bit out of hand, let's just say Cleveland is losing by 10, 15 points, you can see Collin getting a little bit more reps on the floor. Jamal Murray might be sitting a little bit more, and it opens up the doors for Sexton to obviously play more minutes and possibly put up more shots and more fantasy points for us. So that's one of the reasons why, sorry about that. One of the reasons why also that I like the matchup. Also, point guards against Denver, 26.5 fantasy points per game. They gave up 40 to Drew Holiday, 43 to Alonzo Ball, and 41 to Steph Curry. Obviously, those are some big-time point guards. But I think Sexton here has a chance to put up 25, maybe even 30 fantasy points and meet value. Not really loving a lot of the point guards in tonight's game, tonight's slate, but I think he is someone that has the opportunity and the possibilities, especially if Murray and the Denver game gets a little out of control. Denver is ahead by 10, 15 points. You can see Murray taking a little bit of a break and giving the opportunity for a guy like Sexton on the opposite end of the ball of the field to be able to put up some more fantasy points and have more minutes on the floor for the Cleveland Cavaliers. As far as value, I kind of like Jeremy Lin here. He played last game. Now, again, this is just me just thinking, hey, you know what? He's 3,700. This guy's got 30-point upside. You only need 16, 17 to meet value. Granted, he only has played only several minutes. His last game against Cleveland, obviously in a bummed-out situation, 23 minutes, 12 points, 1 rebound, 8 assists, 1 steal. He put up 26 fantasy points. Even right then there, if he can get you another 26 at 3,700, he has a shot. This is a guy that they brought in here thinking he was going to be the point guard and possibly, but Trey has been just doing what he had to do, as a rookie, and obviously as a number 1 pick, he had to play as well. But Jeremy Lin coming off the bench could be a big, big spark for this team. And a game like this where there could be a possibility of a blowout as well. Remember, Sacramento is a nice, young, good team, and they may just come here in Atlanta and start really pulling away. So an opportunity for Jeremy Lin to get some time on the court. But I think he's not a bad play, man. 26 fantasy points in the last game in 23 minutes. That's more than 1 fantasy point per minute. I think that he could be a possible little sleepy budget play. And again, if it doesn't pan out, hey, he only cost you 3,700, but I think he has the upside for you to get 20 or better and pay off that value. As shooting guard, man, we got here a couple of guys up in front. Now, look, I love Holiday. You guys know, if you follow me late last year when I started the channel, love Drew Holiday. He's in a tough matchup here as well. 8,300. He could definitely cover that. That price is a little high for me for tonight. I do not like some of these guys up here in the top. Like Buddy Hield is too high. Buddy Hield, 8,000. You need about 40 from him. He's only averaging 30. That's a little dangerous. I know he's playing against Atlanta. There's the possibility, but I'm not willing to pay that price yet for Buddy. Down here, I like these guys the best. Chris Middleton, definitely, and CJ McCollum. I think either one of these is fine, but I'm going to go with McCollum being a little cheaper because, like I mentioned before, I think Holiday is going to be all over defending Damian Lillard. And it's going to open up the doors. It opened up the doors last year for C.J. McCollum to have a lot more shots and more time on the floor and put up more fantasy points against this team. So I like him. He's coming in 19 points per game, 4.3 rebounds, 2 assists, 28 fantasy points per game, 6,900. This is a player. If we go over here to the cruncher, and let's go to McCollum. McCollum, as you can see, let's go back to last year. Last year, he could get you 40 or better. But he was a 72, 7,300, 77. He even was as high as $8,000 last year. $8,000 this year, and he's only $6,900, man. So he is definitely a nice bargain, and we got to take advantage of that price before it just, goes right on up. And as soon as he starts putting down some points, it's going to happen. Tonight may be one of those breakout games. He might get 35 or 40. He hasn't had a 40 spot yet this year. 28 minutes, 32, 36. He's going to get the minutes. He gets the usage rate. He's the second leading scorer. He's the second go-to guy offensively on his team. So we know he's going to touch the ball. 13 touches here from the floor, 6 from 3, 15 and 5, 20 and 7. He's going to get it. 15 to as much as 20, 25 shots per game from the floor and 3-point as well combined. He is not a passer. He is more of a scorer shooter. We're not going to get a lot of assists from C.J. McCollum. We're not going to get a lot of other things. But he is definitely a decent defender when he wants to be. As you can see, he's had 3 blocks, 3 straight games in a row. And he doesn't turn over the ball really high a whole lot. So definitely that helps. And he can score. So I can see where Lillard may have a little bit of trouble with Mr. Holiday. And Mr. McCollum is going to get some added opportunities here to be able to put up some additional points. So I like C.J. McCollum here going up against New Orleans. They've given up the 3rd most points per game to the opposition this year, giving up 122.3 points per game. So we know there's going to be opportunity here to score lots of points. 30.6 fantasy points per game given up to shooting guards thus far this year. And on the road, and I went in even further, on the road, and I tallied up, they have given up 42.9 fantasy points per game to shooting guards on the road. Okay, at home, on the road, for New Orleans. They gave up 48 to Gary Harris, 35 to Donovan Mitchell, 32 to Mr. LeVert, 51 to Harden, and 28 to Thompson. And Harris and Harden's numbers were all on the road. So definitely have some vulnerability there. I definitely like Mr. C.J. McCollum in this matchup today. So C.J. McCollum is my stud shooting guard. My value play here. Wasn't in love with a lot of guys here. Like I said, I definitely have some exposure to Mr. Middleton. I think I'm going to definitely have him in some of my lineups at 7,600. But I'm going to come down to, and this is all based on what happens with Boston, but Marcus Smart or possibly Terry Rozier. I'm going to go either or because, to be honest with you, if Jaylen Brown is out, I could see where Marcus Smart and Terry Rozier are going to get definitely a bump up in minutes. And right now, Jaylen Brown pretty much shares those minutes with Marcus Smart. So I could see Smart here at 4,000. He only needs 20. On DK, he is 4,000 as well, so you only need 20 as well. So you only need 20 from him. And we know he has 25, even 30-point upside. He's capable of doing that in a short period of time as well. So 19, 23, 21 in the last few games. And I could see Rozier, and I'm pointing out Rozier as well because Rozier has 50-point upside, as we know. When he came in last year and he was playing for Kyrie Irving, he definitely put up some serious numbers. And I could see them both being on the floor at the same time as well. This is all if Jaylen Brown is out. If Jaylen Brown is playing, then I will probably be just favoring either Marcus Smart, not throwing in there Terry Rozier, and just basing it on Marcus Smart being able to get more than 20 points, fantasy points, for that 4,000 price range. I think you can still do it with Jaylen Brown in the game. But with him out, I can see him getting a bump up of 25, maybe as much as 28, 29 minutes. And maybe even Rozier, who got 30, I think, or so in the last game, may get up to 33, 34 minutes. So either one of the two, I think, will favor, again, only if Jaylen Brown is out. They're going up against Milwaukee. Milwaukee, as I already said, pretty good defenders all the way around. 104 points per game. They only have given up 19.8 fantasy points to shooting guards this year. The only two guards that they put up some serious points on them was Hardaway of the Knicks put up 28, and Oladipo of the Indiana Pacers put up 33. Other than that, nobody else that they have played has been that good. So not that Marcus Smart is in that same category as those guys, but I can see him capable of at least making value and exceeding value here if he's given the additional minutes, and that's all based on if Jaylen Brown is out. So we'll see what happens there. As far as budget here, I kind of like Frank Mason, the third, at 3,800. I think he is someone you can consider here, man. 3,800. You only need 18. He got 18 in the last game. He got 20 the game before that. And he has 30-point upside. He's capable of scoring in bunches. And he's a scorer. There's no doubt about it. As you can see here, 18, 14. He could put up points. And then when he defends, and, he can definitely do some rebounding. He could definitely pass the ball. And he actually can defend and get some steals. So he can bring up the fantasy points for you really, really quickly in a short period of time. He's capable of getting 1 fantasy point per minute. I think he is someone that could be a very sneaky budget play there at 3,800. They might be able to exceed value for you, and if he doesn't, hey, his number, his total score will be taken right off the top there as one of those, so they'll take his score out of there. All right, small forward. Let's move on. We have Giannis up here at the top. Very, very good spot for Giannis. A lot of points. I don't know. Well, I won't say a very, very good spot, but I think that he's capable of getting 40, 45 on his team. I'm not paying up for him today because you need about 56, 57 to meet that price. That is a little hefty. It is a good matchup because both teams are their star players, in my eye, are all going to get at least what they need to get out of the game. But I think that bottom line is he's not going to get 55 to 56, at least in my opinion. I think he'll be in that 40 somewhat range. He's capable of getting it at least that far because he has a good floor. But, other than that, I can't see him exceeding value. Paul George, Marichek. So I'm going to come down all the way to Marichek. And the only reason I'm going Marichek is because of I don't know who's going to actually defend him. Him and AD should have a field day against Portland. Who's going to defend him? Jake Layman? I don't know if it's going to be Layman or if it's going to be Mr. Evan Turner. I just don't see it. 23 points per game, 9.9 rebounds. He's averaging pretty much 10 rebounds a game, 1.3 assists, 39.6 fantasy points. He's averaging 40. he's still at a good price. That's one of the other reasons why I like him too. 7,700, you pretty much need about 36, 37, and he's 7,500, pretty much the same on DK. So you need anywhere between 35 to 37 fantasy points from him. He's averaging pretty much 40, and he's put up 42 or better in 2 straight games. He's getting the minutes. We go over to him here on the Fantasy Cruncher, and you can see 32, 38 minutes. His usage rate 22% or better, pretty much sometimes as high as in the high 20s. He's getting his shots, 15 from the floor, 7 from 3. He took 11 before that from 3 and 17 from the floor. He's going to get shots. Now, granted, Anthony Davis did miss a game or two, but nonetheless, even when Anthony Davis is in, he's still getting his shots. It's him, Anthony Davis, Drew Holiday. And if Alfred Payton is not even back today, it opens up the doors for more offense between Anthony Davis and Maričić to take more control of the front court and really, really start pounding it on Portland, where I think Portland's vulnerability is up front. It definitely is up front, okay, as far as the power forward spot and the center spot, with Nurkic being kind of the guy that he's not a bad center. He just gets into foul trouble a lot. So it's going to open the doors for Anthony Davis and Mr. Maričić here today. So I love the matchup for Maričić. I love the price at 7,700. He has the upside to get it done. He has 45 plus upside. You're going up against this team. Portland giving up 109 points per game against the opposition, and they have allowed 28.7 fantasy points per game to small forwards. They did give up 36 to Otto Porter and 30 to Brandon Ingram. And now you got to deal with someone like this who is capable, like Brandon Ingram, because I think Maričić is a better player than Otto Porter. And Porter put up 36. So there is definitely room for him to put up 35 plus on this team today. And if he gets hot from 3 or from the perimeter, it's going to be a really long game for Portland at home. But the only beauty of it is, hey, Portland is playing at home. That's the one thing you can take out of it. So Maričić to me is definitely in play at 7,700 just due to the price. His price is still a little low. We'll come down here, and the next guy I'm going to talk about, I don't really have a major value play, but I can't pass up Robert Covington today at 6,500. He's another guy that's over pretty much, he's about 7,000, 7,400 that he was at points last year. Well, we'll get to that in a moment. Robert Covington, 13.5 points per game, 5.6 rebounds, 1 assist, 31.3 points, fantasy points per game, 6,500. At that price, you need about 32, 33. And on DK, he's 5,400. So I circled DK because I love that price at DK. For 5,400, you need about 26, 27. And I think he could definitely get that. So both platforms, I think he's good enough to go. Let's go over here, and you'll see when I open this up. 3 straight solid games. The minutes are there, 31 plus. I absolutely love it. Usage rate not that high, but that's because he wasn't pounding down these shots. Now, he's been taking more than enough shots. 10 from the floor, 8 from 3. Look at this, 12 and then 9. 11 here on the floor from 7 and 7 from 3. And he is capable of, this is the biggest thing that he brings to the table right here. Look at this. He has had 8, 10 blocks in the last 4 games and 7, 9 steals. That's crazy. Guy is balling his butt off. He's balling his butt off. He's in a very, very good position here. Very good position. LA Clippers allowing 110.3 points per game to the opposition, and they're giving up 37.4 fantasy points thus far this year to small forwards on the road. Okay, they are playing in Philly, right? Yeah, they're playing in Philly. Yeah, the Clippers are playing at Philly. They've given up 37.4 fantasy points to small forwards on the road, and they gave up 54 to Paul George and 35 to Carmelo Anthony. Robert Covington just needs to start burying a couple of threes, making sure he's hitting his perimeter shot, make sure he's defending, and he's going to be fine here. And as you can see, going up against the 15th ranked defense against small forwards. So Robert Covington to me is in play for 6,500. I like him, Saric, and Embiid in this matchup, just staying away from those defenders unless Mr. Beverly or Mr. Bradley are going to defend him. Then it may be a little bit more difficult for Covington, but I don't think that's going to be the case. I think they're going to definitely focus on Ben Simmons up front in the backcourt. As far as value here, there's 2 guys that I want to mention. One is Justin Jackson. Well, I skipped one. One is Miles Bridges, 3,800. You need about 18. and he's been getting some minutes. If he gets 25 or 30 minutes, anything can happen. He can get you as high as 29. On that price, that is definitely a nice GPP play. Remember, guys, I am a GPP player, so I basically am looking for opportunities. I'm looking for guys that are priced low and have the opportunity to really just smash it that night. And this is the reasons why I don't win every single night as far as any big events. I do win here and there, choppy. Maybe we'll get my money back. Sometimes I lose a few bucks. Sometimes I gain some. But I'm looking to win the big event all the time. So when I'm playing, I'm obviously looking for all the opportunities like this. And this is a guy that you could put pencil in here at 3,800. You only need 18, and he's averaging pretty much 16. And he has shown that he can get you 29. He's done it twice already this year. And he did 29 here in 14 minutes. So anything is possible. And I think Miles Bridges is someone you can definitely pencil in there. Other than that, and I also like the matchup against OKC. Then, then you got Justin Jackson, JJ, 3,600, needs 16, 15, 16. He's getting more than enough minutes, 20 minutes or better over the course of the last. He's been pretty much 20 minutes or better every single game. But you just don't know if you're going to get 4 or you're going to get 23. But that's what you do when you play GPP. You want to have at least an opportunity. So a guy at 3,600, if he needs to get you 15, you just want to know, is he capable of getting you 15? Well, he's been averaging 17, so I guess he can. And what he brings to the table is that he can possibly get you as high as 28. So if he can get you 28, he will exceed value, and that will be definitely a great play here. So someone there. So I gave you 2 guys there that you can choose from at the bottom. Power forward. I'm not passing up Anthony Davis today. I have not played a big time stud this year, like somebody at 12,000 or more. But Anthony Davis tonight, I cannot pass up. He's in a very good matchup. He has actually owned this team. They don't have nobody that really can defend him. Nobody at all. If you think Aminu is going to stop him, or Zach Collins, or Nurkic, or even Mr. Lehman, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. So the game is going to have to revolve around Anthony Davis and Nurkic up front. If they're able to neutralize Anthony Davis, then this is going to look like a bad, obvious bad play. And then that will still open the doors for Holiday to have a great game, or Alfred Payton if he plays, or anybody else for that matter. But I am banking on Anthony Davis. I'm willing to put him in my core tonight. 25 points per game, 13 rebounds, 5.2 assists, 62.6 fantasy points per game. That number is very high. 12,800 is a big number. You need about 62, 63 to pay that off. And at 11,006 on DK, you need about 57, 56, 57, which is very doable on DK. I can see him getting 60 or better. And then just look, first thing I look at is he played against Golden State yesterday. Golden State did a good job against him. First things first, he came back. He was out for 2 games with that elbow. So you know what? I think a bounce back game is due today. He's not going to go probably 2 games. And this is 43 fantasy points. This is not no slouchy game, For Anthony Davis, this is low, but this is not that bad. 43 fantasy points, anybody else, any given night, you'll be like, oh, wow, they smashed it. But the only problem is that he did not meet value yesterday. His price was $12,800 last night, and it's $12,800 today. But today I think he's going to have an opportunity to pay that off. 65 here against Brooklyn with no center. 70 here against the Clippers, no center. And he put 54 here with Cauley Stein, but he's not the greatest defender. And he put 80 here against Houston. Surprisingly, I don't know if Clint Capella played this game or not. I believe he did because his first game of the season, he put up 80. So even with a pretty decent center, or with a team with no center, and he's going up against a team with pretty much a decent center, but, a center that gets into foul trouble. So I like the matchup here for Anthony Davis. And look at the numbers here. 80, 74, 70. Look at the usage rate over the course of the games, and look at the shots. We know he's going to put up those numbers. And then when I go and I look to see how he played against Portland, and this is his games last year against Portland, 53, 78, 68, a 46, which is a dud, 59 and 68. And even a 46 is not that bad of a dud, but it was for 40 minutes of play. He still put up more than 1 fantasy point per minute, though. But nonetheless, the shots are there. He's going to rebound. He's going to block some shots. That is his specialty. He's capable of getting a bunch of steals as well. He's in a great matchup, man. Portland is coming in 109 points per game given up to the opposition, but most importantly against power forwards and centers, 42.2 fantasy points per game. They haven't been able to stop power forwards and centers, and this is all statistics at home, in their home court. The games they won at home is because of Lillard or C.J. McCollum or both having great games, and their role players off the bench. 45 they gave to Markieff Morris. Aldridge scored 35 on them, and LeBron James scored 46 on them. They were all defended by Aminu, so I expect him to be on AD as well. Not a good matchup for Aminu. Definitely Anthony Davis is in play. I think he is solid. I'm going to have him in the bulk of my lineups as a core. As far as value, I'm looking at Marvin Bagley, the third, 5,500. He's the only guy in Sacramento that right now his price is a little up, but not too bad that I can play him because everybody else, Buddy, as well as Fox, even Cauley Stein, a little up on price, man, as far as price for them. So I'm a little afraid that I'm not going to be able to get value off these guys. But this guy, I think he can. 5,500. You need 27 for Bagley to meet value here. And on DK, he's 5,000. You only need 25. And he's averaging 26. So he's priced just right, especially on DK. He got 26 in his last game, and he has been able to get up to 40. So he has 40-point upside. Now, granted, he needs to get the minutes. Granted, as you can see here on the screen, I don't even have to go to the cruncher. 22 and 16 minutes the last 2 games, and he's been averaging pretty much 22 over 3 out of 4. So we need him to get on the court. But I can see if this game gets out of control, either Seattle has a big lead on Atlanta or vice versa, Mr. Bagley's going to get a little bit more time on the floor, being one of the younger guys. I could see him, putting up 25 to 30. And that's all I need him to do is to put 26 or 7. But I am hoping as a GPP player that he's able to put up 35, 40, or maybe even exceed value super exceed value and get me 40 or more fantasy points, which we can see here. He's able to do that. He did it against New Orleans, and he did it against Denver, which Denver is a fairly good team as far as defensively. Probably in garbage time, nonetheless, but still he did do it. So I like the matchup. I would love for him to definitely go off here. We're going up against Atlanta, 116.9 fantasy points per game given up to the opponents. They're giving up 26 fantasy points per game to power forwards. They have given up to, let me see who we have here. They gave up 37 to Sam Decker, 37 to Doncic, and 40 to Mr. K-Love. Granted, Bagley's probably not that same league, but he was definitely a top draft pick a couple years last year, I think it was. So, I mean, he has the potential. He has the skill set. I think he could be a nice play here at 5,500. Other than that, as far as really, really low value, budget play, man, I really don't. The only one I can think of that I would like here, and I just don't see a true budget play here. Maybe if something comes up, I will definitely notify you guys about that later. Let's go over to center. At center, I'm not passing up on Mr. Embiid today because Jokic played last night, and he's probably going to get less minutes, and this is a potential blowout game. So as much as I love Jokic, and I told you guys Jokic, I gave you Jokic yesterday, and I told you he was due to start getting some big games, and it happened last night, put up 58. So those who play Jokic like myself, you guys did okay there. I'm sure you were happy with that. I think tonight the play is Joel Embiid. Out of all the Philadelphia players, he's the only one that really stands out to me because of the matchup. He has really nobody that's going to be able to defend him on this Clipper team. But as you can see, he's averaging 27 points per game, 11.8 rebounds, pretty much 12 rebounds a game, 4.1 assists, 52 fantasy points per game at 10,900. You pretty much need about, I would say 50. You need about 53, 54. And on DK, he is 10,300, so you need about, 51, 52, somewhere around the same range. Anywhere between 52 to 54 on both platforms. That's pretty much what you need. And he's averaging 52 right now. He's had 2 51-plus 51-point games over the last 3 games, and he has had 3 60-point games thus far this year. And again, let's look to see those 60-point games. Against Milwaukee, no center. Detroit, definitely with a center there. Drummond must have played. He definitely played very well against Andrew Drummond. 48 here against Orlando, against Vukovic. 61 here against Chicago. They pretty much don't have a center. So, granted, when he's playing against some weak opposition, he's taking advantage of it. I can just see the game just all evolving to getting Mr. Embiid out and going and scoring right away. We go over to the cruncher just to take a look at his usage. And, we know that is good, and we know that he has 70, 80-point upside. That's the beauty of it as well. But as you can see, 30 to 33 minutes, 37 minutes. He's going to play 33 minutes or better every single game. His usage rate is going to be high, somewhere in the 30% range on a regular basis. He didn't have to do that here. It was a blowout win here. And pretty much over here, the same thing. He only had almost 30% usage rate, but the shots are there: 21, 22, 24, 20, 26. He's going to take massive shots, and he should be, and he should. And at the same time, if he has a favorable matchup like he does today, he should definitely take as many shots today as well. And he brings to the table the defense. He blocks shots pretty much every single game, anywhere between 1 to as much as 3 per game. That's all extra fantasy points, which we love. He does get a little bit of foul trouble here and there, but he doesn't foul out a whole lot, so that is good to know and good to remember. And then as far as rebounding, and he does pass the ball once in a while. He does a little bit of everything, man. He is not a bad player. He's one of the best centers in the league. Going up against the Clips are giving up 110.3 points per game against the opposition and allowing 38.5 fantasy points per game to centers. They gave up 44 and 41 to Steven Adams in 2 matchups. They've given up 45 and 41 to Clint Capella in 2 matchups, and they gave up 45 to Mr. Jokic in 1 matchup. So those are the centers that have beat them up, and Joel Embiid with 70, 80-point possible upside. I could see him getting 60 or better here today. I definitely love the matchup. Him and Anthony Davis, if you can get them in your lineup somehow, you should probably be able to get some good fantasy points off of these guys today. So Joel Embiid in play for me, definitely in play. Other than that, Steven Adams, I may have a little sprinkle to him. I think he's in a good spot too. Against Charlotte doesn't have a big center as well, and this guy is very, very, physical. He's very dominant under the boards. I mean, he loves all that good physical activity. I could see him having a great game. And then, Nurkic will be fine here at 6,800. His price is good. It's just, unfortunately, he doesn't put up enough points for me, and at the same time, he gets into foul trouble, So I'm going to go all the way down. I do like Alex Len here at 5,300. He did put up a nice game his last game out. 45. He's had 2 40-point games at 5,300. You pretty much need 26 from him, and at 4,900 on DK, you only need 24. And he has potential. I mean, he's a younger kid. He could definitely defend. He had 2 steals and 2 blocks in the last game. As you can see, he's had 5, 9, 10 blocks already this season in the games he has played. He just needs the minutes. Give him 25 to as much as 30 minutes. I think he'll definitely do fine for you guys. If Atlanta, gives him the time on the floor. And that's what I thought when they got this kid. I thought that's what they were going to do, is give Mr. Lin more time on the floor. Sacramento coming in 116.8 points per game to the opposition, coughing up 39.8, pretty much 40 fantasy points per game. 2 centers thus far this year. That's in the top 5 of the most in the NBA. They gave up 43 to Vukovic, 59 to Whiteside, 38 to Steven Adams, 50 to Marichek, and 44 to Rudy Gobert. So they have given up quite a bit of fantasy points. Lin is probably not in the same league as a Vukovic or a Marichek or a Gobert, but he is capable enough skill-wise to be able to at least meet value here. I think he's going to get value, and if this game could stay close enough that he'll stay on the court a little bit longer, he has the possibility to get you 30 to 35, maybe even get you 40 in a matchup like this today. So I like Alex Len here. As far as the budget, a really, really budget player here. The only one that came out to me was Aaron Baines for Boston, 3,700, and he's 17. We know that when he has played more than enough minutes, he's come through. This may be a game where he'll get more than 12 minutes. He hasn't played more than 19 minutes this season. But he's a guy that could get you points in the bunches because he's more of a putback guy. He's more of a box-out guy. He's very physical, similar to Steven Adams, willing to get dirty under the boards and get all those extra offensive rebounds. So we need him to rebound. We need him to score some points. I think at 3,700 in a game like this, which is going to be really, really close, an opportunity. Obviously, he does get some time on the floor. If the game gets just a little bit out of hand, he's going to get more time on the floor. But I could see him playing at least 18 to 20 minutes. And if he can get 1 fantasy point per minute, he'll at least see value, and he'll give you at least a shot there. So other than that, Mason Plumlee, which I gave you last night, is still a good play also. 3,600 against Cleveland is just a blowout situation. But again, if they get blown out here, this is where Mason will come in and play more minutes for Mr. Jokic. So, again, last night he came through for us guys, whoever played him. I recommended him yesterday as a value play, as a budget play. And I'm going to mention him, and I think he's definitely in play again tonight at 3,600. His price has not moved up. So, definitely consider Mason Plumlee. That's pretty much it, man. Remember, at the end of the day, hour before lock, I'm going to basically go over all the guys again. Put them down on the right here in the comment section of this video. I'm going to basically give you my last look on all these players. If they're all in play, they're going to all be in that comment, and as well as anything that I think I believe that I will be on by the time the night is over. All right, guys, I wish everybody a lot of luck, and I'll see you guys on the next video.